What is good, people? Welcome back to another video and another edition of That Transfer Show. Me and Rob back again talking about done deals, speculation, and what we'd like to see. As always, guys, if you do enjoy the video, please leave a like, comment down below letting us know which deal you think is going to happen this window, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the upcoming content. Rod, nice to see you again. Obviously, you've been away seeing family. I've just been lazy as fuck as always. So, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, mate. It's been a crazy couple of weeks, but yeah, I'm not too bad. Bro, yourself?
Yeah, I think I'm good, bro. Just not really had much on, but the transfer and stories which are coming out are, crazy. We're still yet to hear about Neymar, who I still think the Chelsea link is there. But first of all, I wanted to start off with Arsenal, Rob, because for me, they mean business this year. Maybe I'm not as happy with some of the signings for them as some of their fans are, but for me, it's the intention I like. So first of all, Rod, they've already got done deals for Vieira, and it looks like Jesus is soon to be over the line. But they're linked with like the likes of Tielemans, Martinez from Ajax. Sorry. What's your thoughts so far on the window for Arsenal?
Yeah, I think Jesus is basically over the line. I've mentioned it in the last video. I think Jesus is a good signing. He's still fairly young. 45 million, not too bad for a Premier League proven striker. Obviously, in the Arsenal team, you have got less quality compared to City, but I think he is going to do very well. And I mean, they're building a good squad. They're building a good young squad. Obviously, that Vieira from the Portuguese league looks like an interesting, tidy little player.
Yes.
And obviously, the main thing is 5 substitutions next year, so you need depth, and I think Arsenal are applying themselves quite well.
Yeah, for me, the Vieira player, hadn't heard too much from him. I think I did see him in, is it the under 23 or under 21 Euros or something like that, not too long ago. But I did watch a podcast on him, and they had some sort of Portuguese, not scout, but someone who's really into the Portuguese league talking about him. And for me, it sounds like a really good transfer, Rod. I do think it kind of messes up with what they've got along the front three in terms of Odegaard, Saka, and Martinelli, because he does like to play in one of those roles. But for me, he sounds like he's going to probably adapt to the Premier League pretty quickly. He's someone who, is very comfortable with the ball at his feet. He's very good at finding that killer pass. He can shoot when needed to. So he sounds like a really great signing. Jesus, I think we do have difference in opinion on that one. For me, I'm not too sure he's good enough to play it as a lone number 9 for this Arsenal team. But I think the word which you use, which I kind of think about Arsenal's transfer window so far, is you use the word young. All the players they're linked with are young. And for me, I'm not too sure if this is the right thing for Arsenal. I love the intent. I wish my club was showing this sort of intent as well. But I think they're missing experience in their squad and real leadership. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think that's what cost them Champions League last year. I did mention it, to be honest. I said not having that experience in the closing stages could cost them, whereas Spurs did have that experience. And it did. And because you need the big game players towards the end of the season when the young players literally played multiple minutes every week and obviously exhaustion, etc. But I think they need a couple of experienced signings in there just to give a bit of assurance to the other players around them. And obviously, I mean, it's still early days in the transfer season. I think, we've got another month of it left or something crazy? Two, maybe
a
bit.
I'm not even sure when the league starts, to be honest. I'm still hungover from the normal season, last season. But yeah, right, I did want to get your take on Tielemans, because for me, out of all the players they're linked with, we know what this guy's about. He's in his mid-20s now. He's been playing for Leicester. I think last season was a bit of an off one for him, but normally his standards are very high and he's very important to that Leicester team. A guy who knows what the Premier League's about. Same as Jesus, I guess you could say. But I think this would be a great signing for him to sit alongside someone like Partey, someone who can really dictate the game of football.
I'm a big admirer of Tielemans. I think he's a very, very good player. And like we also mentioned, he is still young. I think he's like 25,
yeah,
26?
I think he's about 25, maybe 26.
Yeah, he's 25, so just turned 25 as well. So young player, he's got tons of experience already, and he can play that number 8 role very well. I think alongside Partey, that could be a very dangerous midfield if they do get him.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's expressed that he wants to leave, but I mean, he expressed this quite a bit ago, and there hasn't really been any movement on that front. But it's definitely one to look out for. And I have just had a look at when the transfer season does end, and it ends on the 1st of September. So we've got 2 more months really.
Well, that's great for us.
People are going to want to get the players in before
Yeah.
the season starts, and then obviously hopefully before pre-season, so there's enough time to integrate them.
Yeah, I think that's right, and that's what I do like about the intention from Arsenal. I think we're going to talk about United later on, but the thing I'm not liking is the fact that we're not getting players in early so they can adapt going on pre-season with the new manager. But for Arsenal, I think they're doing a great job. Lastly, on Martinez, a ball-playing centre-back from Ajax. A man who's comfortable on the ball, like I said, can play, centre back or even push up into the midfield as a CDM, from what I've heard and seen from him. For me, Rod, this one kind of makes me think Arsenal are looking at a back three. Obviously, they've been linked to other wingers, which I do find a bit interesting because obviously we know Saka can play as a wing back. I'm not sure it's the right move to maybe put him out there, but Martinez coming in alongside someone like Gabriel and Ben White, I do think it would be a move to a back three because of the fact that Arsenal have invested so heavily in the 2 centre-backs they already have.
Yeah, or like I mentioned, 5 substitutions, you need depth, and I think last year a couple of Arsenal centre-backs had some injury issues, obviously Gabriel and Holding with a set 2, but then you had no, not Holding, sorry, Ben White and Gabriel, and then obviously you had Holding come in, and then on the fullback positions you had Cedric, Tomiyasu, etc. So obviously depth, I don't think you can ever go wrong with depth so long as the quality is on par with who's starting or just below, so that you can rotate. And I think rotation is going to be huge this year, especially obviously we've got the World Cup in the winter, so yeah, players fitness levels and that is definitely one to watch.
Yeah, and one of the wingers they are linked with, Rod, is a guy who seemingly looked like he was going to Barcelona at the start of the window, then it looked like Arsenal were in pole position. But now it's taken another U-turn. There's been an agreement with Chelsea for Leeds Rafinha. I guess it's still not a done deal in any way, and he could go to either of the 3 clubs, but it is looking more and more likely that Chelsea are going to get their hands on him. For me, I'm a bit kind of confused with this one. I think Chelsea have a lot of wingers already. I don't mind them bringing one in if they're getting rid of a couple, but for me, I think the primary sort of position should be striker. They struggled there in the past few years. What do you think of the Rafinha deal so far? Because it's turned quickly, right?
Oh yeah, I do just want to. I think I'm worried for Leeds. Obviously, they made some big signings, but it looks like they're losing Rafinha. They've lost Phillips, so that's going to definitely be a team to watch and see how they do. But I think 55 million for Rafinha. I really like him as a player. But Chelsea, they're in for Sterling as well. They've got Ziyech, Pulisic, etc. Barkley, Loftus. They've got a lot of depth, and I don't know. 55 million is a lot for a bench player, and Rafinha's not going to want to sit on the bench. He's good enough to start every game.
I think he starts for him, but it's whether or not they're going to be able to offload other players. I think he is a good signing. And like you said, with him on the right-hand side and Sterling, who looks like it's pretty much a done deal from City to Chelsea, they got 2 great wingers there, but they're still missing a striker. So I think there's a lot more business to be done for Chelsea. I think Rafinha, like you said, brilliant player. I'm a bit kind of worried about the Sterling signing now.
I'd never, even prior to the transfer season, thought about Sterling going to Chelsea, but it looks like Tuchel really does admire him. They like a hell of a squad. If they pull off Sterling and Rafinha, like that squad is absolutely crazy. And just want to give a shout out to the amount of talent coming into the Premier League.
Yeah,
I mean, teams are building some really serious squads. And last year I said it's probably the strongest Premier League it's ever been, and this year I feel like it's going to get even stronger. But I like Sterling as a player. Okay. That for me, his finishing is very inconsistent. But what he's good at is running with the ball, dribbling it, and his low centre of gravity. Even though his finishing for me is pretty average, he does score goals.
Yeah.
So, mate, if they pull off these 2 signings, I don't know. It's a crazy team. It's crazy.
I agree, but I think it's actually all going to go to shit. I really think Chelsea are going to struggle this year. I don't rate Tuchel. I think last season, abomination what he did with that Chelsea squad. The amount of people now that Lukaku's gone are shitting on him, I'm really confused. Romelu Lukaku is a proven Premier League goal scorer. And for me, the problem wasn't him last year. Yes, he had his difficulties, coming out to the media and that. But for me, it's Tuchel, man. They play football shit, man. I really don't rate Chelsea.
Yeah.
For me, I think you're right in saying the squad has got an abundance of talent. But you look at other areas of the pitch, like centre-back. They got fucking Thiago Silva, who's going to be on his last leg soon. And, losing potentially Christensen and Rudiger. I think it's a big miss. I think they do have talent elsewhere. You look at Levi Colwell, who was on loan, I think, at Huddersfield last year. Looks like a really talented centre-back. But I think they've got to do a lot of work with this team, and they're not really targeting the key areas in which they're lacking, in my opinion.
I think actually you make a very, very good point now. I completely forgot about the defence. You just focus on the attack and you forget. But
that you on the sexy stuff, you don't want to.
Yeah, obviously, Rudiger basically he has gone to Real Madrid. I mean, Barca need to somehow sign Christensen legally. It leaves them quite threadbare at the back. And last year their defence I thought was very good. I think hopefully Reece James can stay fit all year. Solid right-sided fullback.
Well, that's the thing, though. Like, apparently Tuchel doesn't even like him as a right wing back. He fancies him as a centre back on the right hand side. I'm confused, but you go ahead. Sorry, Rod.
I think, I completely agree. Thomas Tuchel does play some. I'm not going to say the word. He plays some terrorist football.
Yeah.
It's awful to watch on the eye, and for me, that squad. I think we said it pre-season last year. Like it should have been competing for the league title, but they do play some awful football. But the amount of talent in that squad is crazy, and I think they were looking to get Koundé, but they've been looking to get Koundé for about 15 million years.
Apparently United are still linked with Schneider as well. But for me though, I still don't think that either of these two signings would be the biggest signing of the summer for Chelsea. I still believe the Neymar deal is going to happen. I look at honestly, trust me, Rod, I know I might sound batshit crazy, probably because I am. But for me, I look at world football, I go, which clubs can actually look to assign him? You look at the likes of the Bundesliga, you think Bayern can't do it now, they just brought in Sadio Mane. And you look at Real Madrid and Barcelona, not really in a financial position to probably get any of those deals over the line. I think you've got to turn your head to the Premier League. I don't think you can put Serie A up there. And you look at the Premier League teams, the only one who could probably look to do it is Chelsea now that City have spent their money. United are targeting on younger players. Liverpool brought in Darwin Núñez. I look at Chelsea and I think other than like some sort of oil team out in the Middle East or potentially retiring early and going to America, I don't see any other move for Neymar.
I don't think he moves. I think he stays at PSG, and I don't think he moves.
Fuck.
But
boring bastard you are, Rod.
I think I just speak facts, mate.
I think so as well. But we'll move on anyway. We'll move on to City, Rod, because they've done some brilliant business so far. The Haaland deal was announced while we were off for a couple of weeks. First of all, I'd just like to get your opinion on that deal because, well, actually, we'll leave the Haaland deal right there a second. Let's talk about Phillips and Cucurella. Phillips looks like it's a done deal. The interest is still there for Cucurella. I think both signings do help City. The Phillips one I'm a bit confused about. I don't really see him as a Pep Guardiola player.
I think I was chatting to my friend yesterday. Phillips was very much a system-based player. He played that Bielsa system incredibly well, and I think had he not got injured last year, Bielsa would still be in a job. He's very good at what he does, but he doesn't replace Rodri. I like him as a player, I really do like him, whereas with Rice, like you could put Rice in any team and it'd work, whereas Phillips is quite system-orientated. I think he's going to probably also rotate. I mean, 5 subs, like I've mentioned 5 million times. 45 million, I think it's around that. I think he's a very good player, and City, they're just going to walk it, I feel. Like, if they get Cucurella as well, I mean, the depth is crazy already, and I mean, they've made, I think, like 10 mil off that Bazunu. I think they're selling Lavia to Southampton, obviously 45 million for Jesus. They're basically recouping everything that they've bought. So, as much as I hate to say it, it's a very well-run club, and I think they're going to walk the league next year.
Yeah, so for me, I do get what you're saying about Phillips. For me, though, it's like that sort of, I guess you could say foreign sort of flavour of the City team. They like to keep the hold of the ball and play their style. I don't see him doing that sort of role for him. I do think that Phillips is a sort of player who could have fit into a Liverpool team, however, and I do wonder if that sort of energetic style and ball winning capabilities is what Pep's looked at when he's gone after him. Cucurella, on the other hand, I think he would be a brilliant signing, Rod. I do think, though, that Zinchenko is a very underrated player, unless they were looking to maybe use him more as a, I guess you could say, rotation for the midfield, because when I've watched him for Ukraine in these last couple of games, especially against Wales and Scotland, I thought he's been brilliant. But Cucurella, right, I think he is so underrated. And I think in that left wing back sort of role, almost like for City, because that the CDM is going to drop a bit deeper and allow him to go forward, I think he could be special for him.
Yeah, Cucurella, hell of a sign. Like Brighton's recruitment in general is phenomenal, and obviously they just got him last year for like a small fee, and they're looking to obviously look to sell him for like 30, 40, 50 million. I think if City get him, then it's just crazy, because they can have two solid teams that would probably both get Champions League comfortably, and that's a scary thought. But yeah, I think Zinchenko is probably going to look to go elsewhere. That's what Everton were in for him. I mean, now they've got a bit of money, but they're still in a mess. I think Arsenal were in for him at one point, but yeah, I think he'll look to go elsewhere. And if they do get Cucurella, that is, which I'm sure if they want him enough, they can easily get him. But It's annoying to say, obviously not related to Cucurella because he's only been there a year, but there's literally just no loyalty in football anymore. Obviously last year Grealish went, Villa boy. This year, Phillips has gone. He was Leeds through and through, so it's disappointing.
What do they call him again? The Yorkshire Iniesta?
Yorkshire Pirlo.
Yorkshire Pirlo, that's it. But yeah, Rod, for me, I think Cucurella probably suits, if you look at the teams above Brighton in the league, and the teams that he would suit, I think City and Spurs would be the two options, I would say. That takes us on to Haaland. I jumped the gun earlier on. Haaland, for me, I do wonder what sort of, how he's going to fit into the City side. I know a lot of people are going, wow, he only has to be in the box to score and all that. But for me, when I've watched him, I do like him on the counter-attack, the way he drives with the ball. He's extremely athletic. And I do think, it's going to be a different system for him. In terms of injuries, I've heard that, I don't think he's injury prone. I know he had an injury the other year, though. I do think it's a great signing. I don't see him being there very long. I think 2 or 3 years and he'll be off somewhere else. But I think it's a great signing, and I think it's going to be an unreal season with all the talent, like you said.
Yeah, he's not renowned for his ball playing ability, and I still stick by the fact that all he needs to do is be in the box and he will score a lot of goals. But it's going to be interesting to see how he does get into this City side and like what his role will be, because obviously City strikers tend to drop deep, collect the ball, play it with the midfield, etc. That I don't think that's going to be Haaland's job. And just like looking at his injury record now, last year he missed a total of 16 games. The year before it was about 11. So he has got some injury issues, but obviously City are going to have probably one of the best medical teams in the world. They're going to know of all these injuries, etc. And it's going to be interesting to see what he's like in the Prem. He's 21 years of age. Obviously, he turns 22 this month.
Yeah,
and with an abundance of goals already. And
is he your first pick in fantasy?
I'm actually going to go without him, to be honest with you, mate.
Are you? That's fucking brave for me.
I've got Pep. He tends to integrate his players in slowly.
I don't think it's going to take that with him. I think the fact that he signed early, he's going to go on pre-season with them. I think he starts straight away. The only thing which I'm a bit like thinking about is what you just said there. He's not going to be that player who's going to, come a bit deeper, pick up the ball and link play. And I think City's sort of system has, been sort of gone around that sort of, I guess, philosophy for the past few years because they've really been without a striker. So now they got a striker, I do think the system's going to change slightly. And I'm wondering, what sort of other players in their sort of team are going to look to pick up those sort of positions. I guess you could say maybe a De Bruyne is going to play a bit higher up and maybe play that sort of, 10 role as it was, instead of this more centre mid role, which he has been playing as of recent. So it's going to be interesting, as you said. The only thing this makes me think about is Liverpool. Liverpool, very close runner up once again last season. How are they meant to keep up with the City spending when they're able to go and get the players like this? Because they brought in Nunes, and for me, it's like chalk and cheese. Like for me, Haaland's that got that sort of proven quality, jumped onto the scene with, was it Salzburg, and then moved to Dortmund, where he's also been, good in the Bundesliga. For me, Darwin Núñez, from what I've seen, good one season in the Portuguese league, but there are worrying signs for him. I think you look at sort of Lukaku sort of vibes with his first touch, bit clumsy at times. I think he's going to work well for Liverpool, and the fact that he has got, he's got speed, he's got a willingness to sort of hunt down the ball and be that sort of first pressing forward. But I do have worries, and I don't know how they're supposed to keep up with this City team.
I think you make a good point. He's had one good year he's had a decent year in the Champions League and obviously a good year in the Portuguese League, very good year. I think it's a risk.
I think it's a risk.
I heavily back Liverpool's recruitment side. And especially, we know how stingy they are with money. I don't think they would have spent this much if they thought. For me, it's Klopp that makes a player. I think you could give Klopp any football player in the world,
especially if they have asthma,
and he will mould them into a good player. And you make a good point. They can't compete with City. I don't think anyone can. Maybe Newcastle can eventually, once FFP and all that gets sorted out, etc. But you can't compare with City, mate. They've got an abundance of players they can sell. They can level the books, and they can go and spend 100 million and put Grealish on the bench, or they can spend 50 million on Phillips, put him on the bench. Like you can't compete. And
you think Grealish plays a bigger role this year?
I hope not. But mate, I don't even know, to be honest with you, mate.
It's crazy.
But they've you played FIFA back in the day, FIFA 10, FIFA 11, and you had World 11. Mate, City have basically got that World 11 like that. It's a ridiculous side, and mate, you can't compete with them, which I rate Liverpool highly for, because they've gone toe to toe with them with far less expenditure and a smaller squad, which is credit to Klopp. And I've said it before, I'd love to see if Pep could do it with a team with no money or less money.
No,
but he's never going to test himself.
He's gone to every league he's been in. He's been with the big dog. Like, in terms of Barcelona, maybe didn't have the spending power of Real Madrid, but look at the youth academy sort of players they had, and they already had the best player in the world and an abundance of talents in that midfield. Probably one of the best midfields of all time, Xavi and Iniesta and Busquets. So, you look at the Bayern team, he wasn't able to win Champions League with that Bayern squad he had. I do think he's a great manager in terms of the way he changes the game, and I think you could say the same about Klopp, because football's changed since Klopp's taken over Liverpool, in my opinion. I think the game of football's become more about that sort of pressing style, and do you have those athletes in your team who can really cover every blade of grass?
I mean, Klopp and Pep have revolutionised the Premier League, no doubt about it, and for me, this year could be the year that City win the Champions League. I really hope they don't. It would be even funnier, because I think Pep's got 1-2 years max left at City.
I think he's got 2 or 3.
I hope they don't win it again this year. But I mean, I said it last year. They probably should win it, and they probably should have won it this year. To be honest, they just bottled it. So I hope they don't. Obviously, it's a bit early to talk about Champions League, but
very early. We haven't even had a draw yet.
City are building a ridiculous team, and they've got a ridiculous team, so I think they're going to win the league.
All right. We'll talk about a team who definitely won't win the Champions League this season, Rob, because they aren't in it. We're talking Manchester United, obviously new manager. It's taken quite a while to really get much action in the transfer window for United. However, now it's looking more likely that there are going to be some incomings in the next couple of weeks. The De Jong transfer we talked about before, but it looks like it's getting even closer. Teams apparently agreeing on a package which would be worth around 85 million euros in total. And now we're seeing I think yesterday, a transfer for Malacia, the left back from Feyenoord, has been hijacked by United. He looked to be on his way to Lyon, but now it looks like he's on his way to Old Trafford Road. I've seen Malacia play once or twice in the Conference League. I definitely saw him in the final and was kind of watching him against Roma. He seems to be quite adventurous sort of left back who looks to get forward and put a cross in. Still quite young, and Ten Hag must see something in him if he wants him. I think United still got Telles and Luke Shaw on the book, so I expect one of them to probably leave, as well as Brandon Williams. And Rod, what's your opinion, I guess, on those two transfers?
I've been chatting to a few United fans over the last few days.
How many you got?
On Twitter, I'm just in a group chat, it's FPL group chat. There's a few United fans in there, and I mean, they're all raving about the De Jong and Malacia signings, but what bothers me a bit about the De Jong signing is, don't get me wrong, quality player will be a great addition, but he doesn't want to come to United.
Yes, I agree.
But so, obviously I can see why you want him, of course. I mean, anyone would want him, and obviously Ten Hag's made him into the player he is, and he's worked with him before, but he doesn't want to come to United, so he's always going to have that in the back of his mind. When a game goes wrong or something goes wrong, it's just going to further exacerbate the fact he doesn't really want to be there, and it's a lot of money. And I mean, it kind of puts United a bit down, because obviously huge club, huge history, and you should be able to still compete with the likes of Barcelona, and you should still have that pull. And when you've got players saying they don't want to leave, and in the state Barcelona is currently at, it kind of humbles you a little bit and shows you the actual real level that you're currently at.
It's like a girl going, you asking a girl out, she says, no, I want this other guy to ask me out. Then he says, no, I don't want to ask you out. Then she goes, actually, I will go on a date with you. It's kind of like second best, isn't it, at the end of the day? And
he just doesn't want to move, and he's happy, and he's going to be quite unsettled for a bit. And obviously I'd back Ten Hag to get him settled and everything like that, but I don't know. I personally wouldn't want a player that doesn't want to be there personally, but I mean, we had that with Harry Kane last year, and he ended up doing really well for Spurs.
Yeah, for me, the only thing I would say about De Jong is Barcelona don't want him. They need him to be gone for money reasons. Is that going to maybe make him want to do well for United? I think it's probably going to work, and I think the deal's probably going to happen. I do see him in a United shirt pretty soon, and for me, I actually really like the deal. I think the sort of player that he is, I think he would suit a new sort of system for this United team. Still extremely young, he's got plenty of time. I think it's a good signing for United, and I think without the pressures of Champions League football this season, potentially can go on a pretty decent run with De Jong. Malacia, I'm super excited about as a United fan. I think he is the sort of player that we've been crying out for in terms of, I do like Luke Shaw, but I do think that sometimes I just think maybe he could do a bit more. I think the competition for Shaw here would be a lot more. Even if Telles goes, I don't think Telles has really looked up to it defensively. I'm not too sure what Malacia has got to offer defensively, but I'm sure, Ten Hag knows something that we don't. The other transfers I want to talk about, Rod, is Dean Henderson finally looks like he's going on loan with an option to buy to Nottingham Forest. I'm a bit surprised by this one, just because of the fact that, they had Samba in goal last year, and he looked pretty decent to me.
Yeah, Dean Henderson, I read that he is going on loan, but I believe there is no option to buy at the end of the year.
Oh, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe there's not. I could be wrong, of course. But I really like this as a signing for Nottingham Forest. I mean, Samba, I thought he was quite good. That must be something that I don't even know where he's moving to. I think he's moved to a different club. But Forest, they need to recruit some players. I think they signed a forward.
Yes, Taiwo Anawoni. He was on Liverpool's books, but he's been playing at, I want to say, Union Berlin. A bit. He looks fucking big, by the way. He looks pretty jacked, the striker. So it'd be interesting to see how he implements himself into the team. But like you said, Dean Henderson, a bit of a strange one, I guess you could say, because for me, the form at United has been pretty shoddy. Hasn't really gotten his chance. When he has, not really the best sort of goalkeeper. I know there's a lot of United fans who always wish that he would get his shot over the hair, which I never really understood, because every time he's played, he hasn't necessarily been brilliant. I think the goal which sticks in your head is the one with Salah running through on him, and his angles are just shocking. But yeah, Rod, that's the outgoing for United, which is pretty likely right now. One last income is Christian Eriksen. Looks like United have a 2-year deal, sort of personal terms kind of agreed with him. It's just whether or not he wants to actually do it or not. I think it'd be a brilliant signing. I know a lot of United fans. Oh, sorry, my phone keeps fucking going off. Let me put that on silent. But yeah, for me, I think Eriksen would be a brilliant signing. A lot of people talking about the fact that he cannot play with Bruno in a midfield with De Jong, and I think that's probably right. But what I think he adds is that something different. That's someone who's willing to go into that midfield, maybe instead of Bruno, and is more likely to keep hold of the ball. I think Bruno likes to play a lot of, I guess you could say, expansive sort of passes and often loses the ball. I think Eriksen gives you a more solid foundation of keeping possession.
Yeah, mate, if Eriksen does come to United, along with De Jong, along with Malacia, then I think a big squad, along with the other players currently there. I'd prefer him to get a Brentford.
Yeah, I think for him, it's up to what he wants. Does he want to be in a team which could potentially, push on and maybe do something, or does he just want to play? I think he should be looking to play, personally. I think the Brentford move, he fitted in well, and towards the end of the season, he was actually on fire. He was getting quite a few assists for Tony and the likes of Mbeumo. It is an interesting one.
I did read that I think he's not too bothered about playing in the Champions League. He's played in the Champions League before. I think main thing for him at this stage of his career, obviously he's 30, he's getting on a bit, is just playing regular football. And I think at Brentford he will play regular football, whereas at United he's less likely to. But it's up to him and who he chooses, and obviously we never know what goes through a player's mind. And there's going to be a lot of the agent talk, pushing, etc. But it's up to him at the end of the day.
Yeah, Rod, I completely agree. And it's whether or not United look to play a different sort of system. I heard it's going to be something like a 4-3-3, like he played at Ajax. But, is he maybe going to look to play Bruno somewhere else, maybe as some sort of inverted forward? Who knows? But I want to get on to my transfer winners. So far, it's Spurs, man. They're putting together a real good squad. They've already got the likes of Perisic come in, who I think is a brilliant signing, and Fraser Forster as a backup, who, Premier League experience. I think it's a decent signing. But now, Rod, oh yeah, they also got fucking Basuma. I almost forgot about that. A crazy signing for me. We haven't talked about Basuma yet, so I'd like to talk about him because we was off while that happened. I think the fee agreed for it was brilliant. I know you were looking to potentially get him at Villa a while back. Are you kind of disappointed he's gone to Spurs?
No, I think if Villa and Spurs are in for it, I think you choose Spurs 100%. I think we were in for him in January. It's always hard to do business in January. 30 million. In January they turned down and they've accepted 25 in the summer. Don't know what's happened there. Mates, they're building a crazy team. Obviously, they've signed Perisic, they've signed Basuma, they've signed Richarlison. It looks like they're getting Lenglet. They've got Forster as a backup. These are some big players, and this is actually quite unlike Daniel Levy.
Yeah, Conte's got in his ear.
I think he must have, and we know Conte is quite volatile. He might not be there at Christmas, etc., but that's a different matter. But they're building together a solid team. I mean, Kulusevski looks like he's going to come back. They've got some depth, and they're going to need it in the Champions League.
Yeah, I think Basuma's a crazy signing for him. I think he's got everything you kind of want in a midfield, and I think for Spurs, definitely something they've been lacking. I think he's not only really good defensively, I think you've seen the likes of last season, the sort of interceptions he was making. I just think he's got a brilliant ability to drive with the ball as well, and I think he's going to really suit Spurs. I think whether he plays alongside a Højbjerg or Bentancur, even Oliver Skip, who I actually rate, I know you don't. I think it's a brilliant signing. And for the fee, like you said, 25 million seems extremely cheap. I like this deal for Spurs. I think he complements not only Conte and their system well, but I think he's going to be a really like sort of player for him next season, one of the standouts potentially. I guess we'll move on now then, Rod, to Richarlison. I didn't even know about this one until we got on Discord to start talking. You was like, oh yeah, Richarlison's going to Spurs. So I don't know anything about the fee or anything like that, Rod, but all I can say is 50 mil. I do think it's a bit of a weird one because I've never actually rated Richarlison that highly.
Mate, to be honest with you, I think he's a good player. 50 million is a lot of money, and yeah, Fabrizio gave it the here we go. Fee will be 50 million guaranteed plus add-ons. Richarlison on his way for medical tests in Brazil. Done deal.
What's your thoughts on this one then, Rob? Because I do like the fact that he gives him an option to play on either side or of a three up front. He can play through the middle. I think he's got a lot of energy. And for him, I guess this is a step up in his career. You know, he's at Everton and Watford, but now to go to Spurs, a Champions League sort of side. How do you think he fits into the squad, and what sort of minutes do you think he'll be getting? Because I find it a bit hard to see him playing over Son, Kane, and Kulusevski.
And 50 mil's a lot of money. He's 25. Obviously, he's still fairly young, to be honest. He's still got like another 10 years at least of playing football. I don't know how I feel about him. I think he's a decent player. I don't think he's a great player, but he does give him that other option. I mean, he can run. He's fairly decent at holding it up. I think his finishing lacks a little bit. But like 50 mil for me, I mean, obviously that's the going rate for strikers nowadays, especially if they're not English. But I don't know.
Their English is 100.
I think they've just got a lot of depth. He doesn't play ahead of Son, Kane. He's going to be obviously rotating with Kulusevski. I mean,
and he's going to have to play on the right this time as well, which I know he can do, but I do think he prefers the left or down the middle.
I mean, obviously Conte's going to have a big idea of where everyone's going to play, how he's going to play, etc. He's a very good manager.
Yeah.
And I mean, I just talk about Everton quickly, mate. I think Spurs are looking to get Gordon as well. I've heard.
I think that would be a good signing, but I would have gone Gordon over Richarlison. I don't actually rate Gordon as high as other people do, but I think he's young and he's kind of burst onto the scene. He's got lots of energy. It's an interesting one for sure. Like for me, I would have stayed clear of Richarlison.
And just like Everton, they could be in more trouble. I think they've got a lot of financial trouble. I think that was a big factor of why he had to they had to sell Richarlison because of the financial trouble they're in. I mean, they still haven't announced Tarkowski.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's a free agent now, so they could announce him at any point. But I mean, they were close 3 weeks ago, and it's still not announced. Everton could be in some trouble. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, well, I think that's the sort of job Frank's taken on. I think he's come in and he knows what the situation is, and he's obviously confident he can get something out of them. I think he did a good job with Chelsea the first time round without the budgets, bringing in younger players and some of the youth product, and putting it on display. So it's going to be interesting for Everton. Lastly, on Spurs, Rod, looks like they're going to be bringing in a defender on loan, is it, in Longley?
Oh, yeah, good point. Yeah, it looks like Longley is coming to Spurs from Barcelona, which I think I've never really watched him play, but I'm going off the knowledge that if you play for Barca, you must be half decent. He's 27 years of age.
I wouldn't take that one too seriously.
But yeah,
for me, when I've watched him play, I haven't been a big fan of him, and I think that's why they've looked to bring in new centre backs. You've seen the likes of Eric Garcia come in, not really good enough from what I've seen from him at Barcelona. Araujo come in. I don't really rate Longley, but I wonder how he plays in a free. Maybe he's better in a free partnership or something like that, and Conte knows something that we don't. But I don't rate this one at all. I'm kind of harsh, I feel like, on the transfers. Like, I was harsh on Diego Carlos, but I rate Diego Carlos a hell of a lot higher than Longley. For me, I do think it's an interesting one because they do have a good defense, Spurs, but not really have the names there. I think when you look at the likes of Eric Dyer playing in there, I know Romero, really had a really decent season where, people aren't screaming and shouting about him, but he went really under the radar and really got on with his job and looked like a real decent centre-back. I think they're going to be relying on him heavily this season if they really want to get things done at a higher level. I just don't know where Longley would fit in a back three. I think, to be fair, Davies has been... Is it Davies or Davis? I always get this wrong.
Ben Davies.
Yeah, Ben Davies. I think he's actually a really solid left centre back in that sort of system, and he's not doing anything crazy. But for a player who's going to put in a 7 out of 10 performance the majority of times, I really like Davies. I think they're looking to probably replace Eric Dyer in the back three, and I'm not sure Longley's probably the best option for that. I think they could look somewhere else and maybe get a better deal.
Yeah, I've got one more team I want to talk about.
All right, this was meant to be the end, but you go.
Obviously, Newcastle, Botman confirmed, and Pope.
Yeah.
Who, for me, two very good signings that will definitely shore up that defence. What do you think?
We talked about Botman on our last episode, right? But that was a couple of weeks ago. I was telling you that it looked like he was going to AC Milan, but apparently Newcastle had gone in. Well, I know he's Dutch now, Rob, because I said he was Croatian before. But yeah, I really like him, man. I think a lot of teams are looking at him. I remember Wolves being in for him a while back. I think that's the sort of centre-back that Spurs should be looking for. That sort of quality. I think it's a great signing. I think Nick Pope's a great signing as well. I think he's always been consistent for Burnley. Obviously, got the England call up and was really unfortunate with the injury, so he couldn't play in the Euros. And I think actually going into the Euros, if he didn't pick up that injury, he might have actually dethroned Jordan Pickford because he was having a really great season. I think Burnley, it's a bit unfortunate for them that the player's out of contract and the money they're being able to bring in with certain players like Tarkowski leaving on a free. I think they might be in struggle City trying to get up, and I think there's other targets you could look at in that Burnley squad, maybe the likes of Cornet, I could see a Premier League team going in for. But for me, I think Newcastle's business has been really good so far. They haven't necessarily gone for superstars, but they've gone for players who are, in that sort of mid-range of financial sort of fees and real quality players. I think both players offer a lot to the squad. I think, like you said, Pope definitely helped shore up that defence. I think they do have a decent goalkeeping sort of situation now, whether Dubravka's going to leave or not. They've obviously got Darlow, who's never really put a foot wrong for them, as well as a backup. So it's definitely interesting. Love the Botman signing. What's your thoughts?
100%, mate. Ball playing centre back.
We love one of them.
I do like a ball playing centre back, and Carlos shits all over Botman anyway.
No, yeah.
I think Pope, Botman, two solid signings. Defence looking good. Do still think they need a right back. I think who they got there at the moment, Kraft. Not too sure.
They like Murphy, don't they? As a
yeah,
which is a weird one because I remember when Murphy signed, he was like, "Yeah, watch out, Alan Shearer coming for your goal scoring record." He didn't even get any fucking play time. Now he's been converted to a right wing back. It's a funny one, but yeah, for me, I really like the business they're doing. I think they still need a striker as well. I don't think Wood is the ideal backup to Wilson, and Wilson's not the most reliable when it's come to injuries in the past. But I think they're going in the right direction, and I think it should be a comfortable top half finish for Newcastle this season coming up.
I hope it's not. I hope they have an awful season. Will make me laugh, but obviously, good luck to them because they are going to be up there in the next few years. So,
how funny is it? Every time we do this, I try and put on a level-headed sort of no bias, and you're there going, "Yeah, fuck them. I hope they do shit. Fuck City. Hope they get fucking kicked out the cup, all this bollocks." But Yeah, it is what it is. But thanks for joining me, Rod. I know we had a couple of weeks off, and I kind of really enjoyed doing this because I forgot what it was like. But I didn't do an episode. I was going to do one by myself, but I thought better not, because I do think me and Rod do have some contrasting views. And if I was there, Rod would probably shit on my bias on some of the transfers and that. But really enjoyed it. Hopefully we get some more sort of transfer news this week. And we should be back to normal now since you're back. And
I'm off to the Dominican next week for 2 weeks, bro.
Are you actually?
Yeah.
Oh wow! Well, I'll definitely.
I go away on. Let me get the date for you now.
Bro,
I go away on Wednesday, so we could fit one on Tuesday, a video.
Most definitely. We'll be back Tuesday then, me and Rod, with another transfer video. As always, guys, if you did enjoy this, leave a like. Comment down below letting us any signings which are kind of going on, which we're kind of missing and not discussing. Love to know them all, to be honest. And subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the upcoming content. I was going to say Conte. But anyway, guys, until next time, we'll see you later. Have a good weekend. Take care of yourselves and peace.